Ciao, annyeonghaseyo. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about my note-taking strategies when it comes to languages and how I do it differently based on language. And I just want to preface that I do grammar, like grammar tables. I would do grammar tables the same way because that's the way I've always done them. And so like past tense or like if there's a conjugation for he, she, it, they, you, I, like build it based on the conjugation and present, future, past tense. Um which has worked for me ultimately. And so I want to talk specifically and show you what I specifically do. So I want to start off with Korean because I feel like it's the simplest one I can explain. So I want to take one of my makeup brushes as or chopsticks as a pointer. I'm probably going to take a chopstick because it's easier for me to use than a makeup brush. And I want to use this handy dandy chopstick as a pointer for this video. So if there's something that is not easy for you to see, I can try to make it a little bit more visible for you. So I want to start off with the Hana Hangul series, which is the first series I did when I was learning how to write Korean. And as you can see, I did it in order based on the vocab I got as far as the Hana Hangul series went. And I mean, you can see some of my botched Hangul right here, but for example, this word right here came before this word, and so I just like kind of went in order or as close to order as I could. And that's kind of how I've done the other lists as well. Um Especially with Korean in 3 minutes. I did take notes on the Korean in 3 minutes series. Okay, my book went into fly out of my hand, but as you can see, like I started here with video 1 and I progressively went down the row. And it was actually fairly easy to like grasp, and I highly recommend the series. And then I'm doing 800 core Korean words and vocab, and so I did the same thing here. There's just a little bit more phrases within, and I'll get closer so you can see my Hangul progression. Like, and notice I don't have the Romanized there. And the reason why I don't have the Romanized there is because I already was comfortable reading Korean at that point, or trying to get comfortable, so I did not include the romanization. I would rather have pronunciation mistakes than use and learn from those pronunciation mistakes than have the romanization. Because I'm not a huge fan of romanization when learning unless you are like literally a like quote unquote A0 or A1. And I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like if I can start formulating sentences, I would consider myself an A2 in Korean because of my simple reading ability alone. I'm currently reading short stories and solely in Hangul, and it has been beneficial. So, with that being said, I am going to move on to my Italian notes because I do it structurally differently because of the sources I've used for Italian. And the main resource I've used is Living Language. This is my Italian notebook. I don't know why it's not green or red to fit the Italian theme, but so like like you see the verb table I was talking about. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier, and I just flipped to a page and this just came up. And so that's what I talk about, and then the example sentences are here. Like I have some breakdown. Sometimes I break down specifically, sometimes I don't, depending on my mood. But and there's like a grammar note right here, so I was made sure to highlight it and write it down. Sometimes I write the grammar note, sometimes I don't, depending on my mood. But for this lesson, I thought this was very important for Italian, so and I felt like it was a specific Italian one, so I versus a broad Romance language, one for like Romanian, Portuguese, French, Spanish, so I thought this might be specific. It could also be specific to Latin, so that's kind of why I want to keep note of it because I do want to study Latin a little bit, but not a lot. Let me get you. I want to show you something else. Let's see if I have that. And then I have my vocab list right here. And I've obviously highlighted the vocab words, so I make sure I put them in like my Quizlet and make my flashcard deck, which I'm behind on Italian and Spanish for. So I got to make those. Also, sometimes I highlight the base verb. As you can see, sometimes just solely highlight the base verb and just put the base verb in. Because conjugations so far in Italian have basically essentially been the same. And that's why I see Italian grammar easier than Spanish, because sometimes in Spanish it does end up varying depending on how the ending is. But so far in Italian, I've noticed that it's practically the same conjugation essentially. You just need to figure out how to spell it. Um, Obviously there's going to be exceptions to it, but that's what I figured out for the most part. Um, my Spanish notes are kind of built a little different because I have a lot of grammatical charts, which I don't want to just show you like grammar charts galore. But I also don't want to. I was going to show my Spanish book, but I decided not to. My other Spanish book was going to be the one I was going to show, but it's literally like falling apart, and also I'm kind of like it at the end where it just has a bunch of random vocabulary. So, and I don't remember if any of them were like YouTube appropriate or not. So I wanted to respect y'all's boundaries and not share it if there was something inappropriate in the vocabulary. I mean, I literally am learning Spanish for like literally everything. So like anything in Spanish, like bruh, I'm learning it. Because Spanish is really important in America, and so I figured like I learn a lot of stuff, some deep subjects and whatnot, and I think there were some deep subjects in there that I personally don't feel comfortable talking about, so that's why I left the Spanish out of it, but I knew my Italian and Korean notebook had like clear examples of what my note taking was like, so that's why I showed you those in specific. And I will definitely be on the lookout for some note taking tips if you want some. I could do a whole tips video, but I wanted to show you how I did it and see if y'all do it the same. Comment down below if y'all take notes the same way I do or do it differently. Depending on the language, obviously. Like, especially if you're learning Italian, Korean, or like another Romance language, tell me if you do the same thing that I'm doing, even if it's like a different book or different videos that you're learning from. And yeah, that is the end of the video. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Threads and Instagram at diana.lingual. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.